Well, the Justice Department is appealing court orders against the president's revised travel ban. Now, you may recall that the initial order caused chaos at the airports and led to nationwide protests. The White House still facing an uphill battle, though. Several states are now challenging the revised order. And this week, judges in Hawaii and Maryland blocking the legislation before it could go into effect. The president says he will take his fight to the Supreme Court. Joining us now, our legal panel, Mercedes Colwin, who's a Fox News legal analyst, along with David Schwartz, a defense attorney and a former prosecutor. Welcome to the both of you. Nice to have you here.
Great to be here.
I want to ask you, there was something that really troubled me was when the judge in Hawaii said that he was also taking into consideration campaign rhetoric that was used before Mr. Trump was elected as part of his interpretation of why he felt that this was considered a Muslim ban, as opposed to just looking at the strict confines of the executive order. David, what did you make of that?
Right. I think it's pretty clear that you're not supposed to take into account anything that's said on the campaign, because it's just campaign rhetoric, as you stated. You have to take the facts of the case, and you can't base your opinions on guesswork, speculation, hypothesis that this is somehow a Muslim ban. You have to base it on the facts and not campaign rhetoric, for sure.
Is it judicial overreach as far as you're concerned?
There's definitely activism, because as David said, you look at the executive order in the four corners of it. Check. Number one, does the president have the authority to do so, to create this executive order to restrain aliens from coming in the country? Absolutely, unquestionably, that's where the law is. That's where immigration law steps in. Two, you look at the language. They're saying that this is discriminatory. Well, how can it be discriminatory when you're just focusing on the 6 countries that had already been selected by the Obama administration, that had increased scrutiny in terms of visas coming into this country? And two, even Mr. Sessions said ultimately that those are the 6 countries. There were 300 individuals that had some terrorist leanings from those 6 countries. So given all of that, how can you possibly say that this is an anti-Muslim
It's very
stand?
clear the Trump administration is going to fight back hard, and his allies are already saying that they're going to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. Listen to what Corey Lewandowski said.
I mean, it's absurd that one federal judge has the ability to override the constitutional authority of the president. There are 3 branches of government for a reason, and the president is going to appeal this ruling right to the Supreme Court. But you've got to get Judge Gorsuch in there. He's clearly qualified to be the Supreme Court justice. But more importantly, you have 1 or 2 federal judges who want to legislate from the bench, who think that they have more authority than they really do. This is not how the system is supposed to work.
Now, one of the criticisms that the judges are putting out there is that even though other presidents have used this type of order in the past, like President Carter and President Reagan, they did not go after 6 countries at once. They did not ban people from a number of countries, as opposed to 1 at a time. So is that an argument that holds water?
No, it's not, because in 1952, Congress gave the president broad powers to regulate immigration policy any way the president sees fit, especially when the security of the nation is at stake. And these were 6 nations identified by the Obama administration as terrorist nations, and nations that can't control the inflow of people into the United States. And that's what it's based on. And also, Iraq was taken off that list because the United States has been convinced now that Iraq has a proper policy in place. So, and also you have to take into account, this doesn't affect 90% of Muslims worldwide. So it's a tough argument to make.
But they're still arguing this is a Muslim ban. They're not seeing this as a national security issue.
Which is unfortunate, because let's look at the globally. How many Muslims? I have the countries right here. Pakistan, 96% Muslim, not on the executive order. Bangladesh, 90%. You've got Turkey, Egypt, both of which are 90% or greater. Those countries are not in that executive order because it's not an anti-Muslim ban. What it is simply the president stepping forward and saying these were the countries that either harbored terrorists or didn't have the proper due diligence in place to ensure that we Americans are going to be safe if those individuals come in here. That's why the Attorney General Sessions said, look at these countries. We had 300 individuals who have already in this country from these countries that have been selected in the Obama administration that had terrorist leanings. That's something that you can't just have short shrift and say, not a big deal, let it go.
Alan Dershowitz is suggesting, he's obviously a lawyer who is a Democrat, who's saying that he thinks this order can hold and believes that perhaps one route that the administration can take is to appeal it not through the Ninth Circuit, but through the Fourth.
Right.
Let's listen to what he had to say.
The Trump Justice Department is getting smart. They're appealing this not to the Ninth Circuit, where they're likely to get an adverse ruling. They're appealing it to the Fourth Circuit. And the Fourth Circuit is a much more conservative court and much more likely to uphold the travel ban. And then if the case goes to the Supreme Court and ties 4-4, Trump wins.
What do you think? It's a good strategy?
That was a brilliant strategy.
It's a very good strategy, but the bottom line here is I do believe this is an open and shut case. This is not whether you think it's politically correct or not. It's whether or not it's constitutional. And under the Constitution and under the laws.
How are they getting away with it? If it's not about being politically correct, how are these judges getting away with making this ruling at this point?
Because they have a lot of discretion at their level. And ultimately, when it gets appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, we will get a final ruling if, of course, is in place, or as has been suggested, go to the Fourth Circuit.
Okay, I got to end it there. I'm sorry, we could talk a long time.
We could talk all day about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Great insights, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
All righty. Rick?